viewers, welcome to the lecture Basic Components in Film Language, Shot, Scene and Sequence. To start with, a shot is the smallest component in the body of a film. Precisely speaking, it is the duration that exists between two successive cuts in a film. At the stage of shooting, a shot can be denoted as the continuous flow of events that exist between the commands action and cut. At a preparatory stage, a director has to answer the question as to what to shoot and how to shoot. A shot is born out of these answers. What to shoot? A director has a rough idea about the action that he is going to stage. The action is actualized by a trained actor, by his voice, by his dialogues, gestures, body language, and so on and so forth. But this action has to be located in a particular space. That space could be an interior space, like that of an office room, a kitchen, a drawing room, and so on and so forth. Or alternatively, a exterior location, like a railway station, a roadside shop, or a marketplace. Once the location is agreed upon, then comes the question of manipulating the location according to the needs of the narrative. Supposing if the shot needs a character moving along a marketplace that is bereft of people, then the marketplace has to be manipulated in a way that is quite contrary to the usual image of the marketplace, which is abuzz with activity and exchange. Similarly, the other elements that are to be modulated are the properties and the costumes and the makeup of the character. Similarly, the lighting and the staging also has to be modulated, keeping in mind the realistic framework of the narrative within which the shot has to operate. Once all these elements have been modulated, the shot is ready for mounting. But another question still remains as to how to shoot. To answer this question, one has to go through the entire repertoire of shots that are available to a director. The repertoire of the shots that are available to a director can be classified in several manners. The primary classification would be based on the formal organization of the frame, that is depending upon whether the frame moves or the frame is static. It completely depends upon whether the camera is moving or the camera is stationary. If the camera is stationary, then we have a static shot. A static shot guides the audience interest into the content of the frame. One is forced to contemplate not only the narrative content that is there within the frame, but also the formal organization of the subject that we are seeing within the frame. We are also asked to look at the interplay of environment that exists on that closed space, thereby giving it an inner rhythm. We can look at some examples of scenes or sequences which use static shots. For example, in a scene in the film Pather Panchali by Satyajit Ray, a moment appears in the film when the wife Sarbojoya receives a letter from her husband stating that he is due to appear in the house in a short time. The letter brings in a sense of joy. And the shot of Sarbojoya's face cuts to a series of approximately 10 shots that takes us close to nature. that takes us to various water bodies, to the ripples on water, to various insects playing on the surface of water, to flies hopping around from one leaf to the other leaf on the water, on drops of rainwater that are falling on the water body. All these static shots create an interplay amongst themselves. This interplay is of a harmonious nature, and the joy of the scene comes forth from this harmonious interaction of the graphic elements that we see in each of these static shots. On contrary to static shots, we have the mobile shots in which the frame moves in a certain manner. Depending upon the method of movement, whether the frame is rotated around its horizontal axis or vertical axis, we have either a tilt shot or a pan shot. Depending upon the movement of the camera itself, we have track shots or crane shots or even handheld shots. What does a mobile shot do which a static shot doesn't do? A mobile shot exposes new spaces and thereby creates a relationship between the new space and the old space. A mobile shot also follows a character which is constantly moving and therefore tracks the journey of a moving character. We can have beautiful examples of scenes built out of mobile shots. Let us look at this particular example, which is the first scene of Charulata, in which the character is constantly moving in the empty household and taking us to new spaces and exploring new spaces and their characters.
ব্রজু ব্রজু
Another classification of shot is based on narrative principles. We have subjective shots and descriptive shots. What are subjective shots? In a subjective shot, we are seeing the point of view of a particular character in the film. A subjective shot is invested with the psychology of the character. As a result, the audience is seeing what the particular character is seeing. The films of Alfred Hitchcock, like Vertigo, Rear Window, Psycho, and so on, abound with examples of point of view shots or subjective shots. Subjective shots, in the case of Alfred Hitchcock, perform a very fundamental objective. They transfer the burden of guilt, uncertainty, and tension onto the spectator, because the spectator is watching the victim with same amount of intensity as the victimizer himself. The other category of narrative shots is called the descriptive shots. A descriptive shot is not attributable to any particular character in the film, but it describes the location in detail so that the various components and the relationship among the components of that location is quite clear to the audience. The cinematic unit that is formed by the combination of several shots is called a scene. The aesthetic principle of a scene is derived as much from the nature of the shots as the manner in which these shots interact with each other. At a formal level, one could also say a scene is a place where a chunk of space and a chunk of time converge. A scene can have several relationships with the actual time of the event that it portrays. For example, the scenic time can be the same as the time of the event that it portrays. In this case, we say that the screen time preserves the time of the event. A case in hand is the first scene of Charulata. A second relationship arises where the scenic time compresses the real time by using elliptical shot designing. Imagine a scene in which a man is going up the stairs. The first shot can show the man going up the stairs in the first two steps. This shot can cut with another shot in which he is about to reach the top of the stairs. The in-between time and the in-between space is chopped off, and the audience fills up this chopped off space and chopped off time by using his or her own imagination, because the action is all too familiar. A third and more interesting relationship exists when the scenic time expands the real time. A case in hand is a film called Incident at Owl Creek Bridge, in which a character is about to be hanged. At the moment of his hanging, he imagines an escape. The escape is picturized over 10 minutes. But this imagination is snapped at the moment when the hanging is executed. A sequence denotes a family or a series of shots which are of a similar type. It could also be a series of similar scenes. In a narrative film, usually the concept of a sequence and a scene often overlaps. In conclusion, one could say that a series of shots combine with each other to give us a scene which communicates a complex meaning, and a series of similar shots or a series of similar scenes gives us a sequence. One has to understand the overarching guiding principle that helps us build a shot or a scene or a sequence is called mise en scène, or simply put, what is being put into the scene. The basic components of mise en scène being the location or space, makeup, costume, properties, lighting, and staging.